Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and attention coach, Jeff Copper. Ned Hallowell has once said, if you have ADHD and you get the proper diagnosis and the proper treatment, you can live a fulfilling life. Conversely, if you don't get the diagnosis and you don't get the treatment, your life can be very challenging, and there's a bunch of not so pleasant stories in lives that have gone awry. What I'm here today is to kind of talk about is when you're going out there, I find often people with ADHD, you need to get an education and awareness. You often forage for information. What I find too often is a lot of people with ADHD go the do-it-yourself route, and they search for information, they forage for information, and they struggle. Information is not action. They're two different things. I've said this before on my channel, and I'll say it again. I read a book on how to play the guitar, multiple books on how to play the guitar, but when I picked it up, I couldn't play it. Why? Because I had to practice it. Now, it's a hobby for me, and I had a couple lessons a few times, but I really would have learned a hell of a lot faster if I would have gotten with a professional who would give me some insights and really knows the tricks of the trade. I know years ago in high school and college, I was a backstroker. I was a nationally ranked swimmer. And a backstroke start is one where you put your feet up against the wall and you do a back dive. Well, usually pools have a tile there that's very slippery. Being a backstroker with some insight, I understood I learned over the years that if you put your feet pigeon-toed instead of flat, you get more surface area of your foot on the wall and you're less likely to slip. That's an insight. It can really help that process of learning. There's a little parable I want to read to really kind of, I guess, get a little punch to that. A ship engine failed. No one else could fix it. Then they brought in a man of 40 years on the job. He inspected the engine carefully, then reached into his bag, pulled out a small hammer. He gently tapped a spot. Immediately, the engine rocketed into life. It was fixed. 7 days later, the owner got a bill for $10,000. What? The owner exclaimed. He scarcely did anything. They asked for an itemized bill. His response, or the bill came later, his response, tapping with a hammer, $2. Knowing where to tap, $9,998. Now, the $10,000 is a little bit absurd, but I think my point really is that if you've got ADHD, getting some help by a professional can really, really help you sometimes, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy, therapist, coach, tutor, etc. And I'm sharing this with you because all too often I run into people with ADHD that have been trying to do it on their own for 10 years, and it's not until they hit rock bottom that they actually look for some help. ADHD is very much a challenge, and I encourage you, if you've got ADHD and you've been struggling for a period of time, find a professional who's got the insight to accelerate your learning. Because after all, if you get the diagnosis and you get some help, you can really live a fulfilling life. As opposed to, again, people have showed up on my doorstep where everything's hit rock bottom at that point in time, and it's really unfortunate because they didn't need to go through that. I hope this has given you pause to think. Please subscribe to our channel by hitting the subscribe button if you're not a current subscriber. We release a tip each week, like this and others. And please leave comments. What are your thoughts on this? Do it yourself sounds really, really good, but there's a cost. I call it the tuition at the School of Hard Knocks, and that's the tuition of experience. What's the value in having somebody that knows where to hit with that hammer to make it happen? Again, I hope this has given you pause to think. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Attention Talk Video. Take care.